So today we're going to tackle a really tough but incredibly important topic. We're going to use this powerful piece of writing to explore the reality of sexual harassment, that whole complicated web of silence that surrounds it, and, the journey to actually finding your voice. All right, let's jump in.
Right out of the gate, the piece we're looking at hits you with this question. It's super direct, super personal, and it's meant to make you just pause. Because, let's be honest, for a lot of us, the answer is probably more than once. And that uncomfortable truth, that's really at the core of what we're talking about today.
So why the silence? I mean, that's the big question, right? This first part really dives into that inner monologue, all those quiet justifications we make to ourselves that stop us from speaking up.
Just look at these phrases for a second. What's wild is how familiar they sound, isn't it? It's like we're conditioned to do this, to downplay what happened, to second-guess our own gut instinct. We tell ourselves, oh, maybe it was my fault, or it wasn't that bad. It's this quiet way we gaslight ourselves, and honestly, it's the very thing that lets this kind of behavior just keep on going. To really get a handle on how this all unfolds, the author shares a deeply personal story. And it's such a powerful example of how harassment is almost never just one big, sudden event. It's more like a slow burn, something that creeps up on you, sometimes right in your own home.
And this timeline just lays it out so clearly. You see how it all starts with what seem like little things, right? The kind of stuff that's so easy to just shrug off. But then the lines start to get blurry. He gets a little too familiar, and that familiarity just keeps growing until it's obviously inappropriate behavior. And it all builds to this moment that you just can't ignore: physical assault. It's a textbook case of how abusers push boundaries, a little more and a little more each time, just to see what they can get away with.
And this is the author's big light bulb moment. That feeling in her gut. She admits she just wasn't listening to her own intuition, ignoring those tiny alarm bells going off in her head. She says she was literally walking on eggshells around him, just to avoid upsetting him. Man, that is a moment of clarity that I think anyone who's been in a similar situation will recognize in a heartbeat.
So this really personal story kind of cracks open a much bigger question, one that so many of us have faced. After the truth came out, the author asked what any of us would. Why didn't anybody tell me what was going on?
And the answer? Well, it's complicated. It's this potent cocktail of emotions. We've got pure fear of what might happen. You've got embarrassment, that constant nagging self-doubt. But then there's this huge social pressure, that urge to not be a troublemaker, to not make waves. And underneath it all is this really cynical, deep-seated belief that, you know what? Even if I say something, no one will believe me, and I'm not going to win anyway.
Just let that sink in for a minute. This quote from the author's friend is just heartbreaking. Even after the guy was fired, even after she was believed and her experience was validated, she still questioned her own reality. It just shows you how deep that self-doubt is wired into us, where our first instinct is to blame ourselves for the fallout from someone else's terrible actions. But, and this is a big but, the story doesn't end there, stuck in that doubt. This next part is the pivot. It's all about the confrontation, and it's framed as this massive shift from feeling totally afraid to feeling truly empowered. I love how this visual shows that two things can be true at once. Over on the left, you've got the real, physical feelings of fear. That knot in your stomach, your palms are sweating, that's all very real. But then look at the right side. You have the concrete, powerful actions. Getting a support team together, having your phone ready to call for help, and the most important one, finding your voice. The huge takeaway here is that you don't have to wait for the fear to go away to take action. Power and fear can, and very often do, exist at the exact same time. And the result of taking that action? Bam! It was fast, it was final. No arguing, no negotiating. The line was drawn in the sand and it was held. It's just a perfect example of the real, tangible impact of finally speaking up.
And this is where the story gets even deeper. The author has this realization that this moment, it wasn't just about some guy who worked for her. It was about healing a really old wound from her childhood. It was like a do-over, a chance to finally claim a power she never ever had as a child who was being abused. So speaking out isn't just about stopping the bad guy. It can be this incredible act of healing for ourselves too. So what do we do with all this? How does this one story become something we can all learn from? Well, the last part of our explainer zooms out, turning this personal win into a call to action for every single one of us.
The source gives us these really clear, practical steps, and the theme is pretty obvious. It's all about stopping it before it starts. Notice that very first sign. Call out those so-called little things right away. Just flat out refuse to tolerate it, and just like the author did, get your support system in place. The message is crystal clear. Don't wait for things to get worse. You have to stop it at the very beginning.
Okay, this might be the most challenging idea in the whole piece. It reframes our silence not as just being passive, but as being an active participant, as a form of collusion. The argument is that by keeping the secret, we actually help the abuser, and that, as the source puts it, dishonors not just us, but all women. It's a tough thing to hear, for sure, but it's a necessary truth if we really want things to change.
And here's the beautiful, hopeful flip side to that hard truth. If silence enables, then speaking out empowers. This just perfectly captures the ripple effect, doesn't it? Every single person who finds that courage to speak their truth doesn't just liberate themselves, they make the space just a little bit bigger, a little bit safer for the next person to tell their story.
And look, building that kind of courage has to start from the inside. The source gives us these affirmations, and they're like tools for your toolkit. Practical ways to build up that self-worth that you need. It's about retraining your brain to believe that you absolutely deserve boundaries, that it's okay to make waves, and that you have every single right to take your power back. This is the internal work that makes the external action possible.
And we're going to end on this final, pretty profound thought. It's more than just a nice idea. It's both a challenge and a promise. It's saying that this isn't some permanent, unsolvable problem. That if we all, together, commit to speaking up, to supporting each other, to teaching the next generation to value themselves, then real, lasting change isn't just possible, it's actually within our grasp.